Okay, so now let's start to add some leaves. Let's isolate one branch just to make it not too hard to edit, because it can start to be a bit heavy when we start adding all the leaves. So with this branch separated, let's go on the last generators and add some leaves. So you have leaves or batch leaf. The batch leaf actually don't allow you to make some per leaf edition afterward. So it's more like a full instancing system. And it's much more light, because if you use the normal leaves, it will give you the access to editing each and every leaf, and it's much more heavy in the system. So I'm going to use the batch leaf as it's much lighter, and I don't want to edit the leaves one by one. So we are here with a bunch of big planes. So let's directly go to the skin tab and reduce the size by a lot. Oops, a bit too much. So maybe it's a bit small, but we can edit it later anyway. So yeah, let's keep it small so we can see exactly what happens on the repartition. So let's focus on one twig. So for now, the generation mode is in absolute, so I can choose the number of leaves I want per twigs, but it's not exactly the way I want to make the leaf repartition. And now it's looking a bit random. So I'm gonna use the phyllotaxy with the opposite, the alternating discus, as I used for the branch before. Again, you can look at your branch reference to see what kind of repartition pattern you have on the branch. It's here that you can choose them. So let's reduce the internode length to add some more leaves along the twig. So we'll see later how much leaf we want here. You can reduce them a little bit more. Okay, and maybe I can also add one leaf to hand every branch. So to do that, I will go here in the extend parent and choose any. So it's gonna always add one more leaf at the end of the twig. Okay, not too bad. For now, the orientation is a bit non-controlled, so I will go in the orientation tab of the leaves, and I have different parameters here I can play with. So the sky influence is making the leaves look upward. So here it's a bit exaggerated, but leaf tends to orient themselves toward the sun to get as much light as possible. So it's good to have these parameters, but I want to increase a bit the gravity on them to make them fall a bit, not staying that parallel to the ground. So to do that, I can just play a bit with the up parameter and fold them like that. So I like this way of orienting the leaves, like putting the sky influence pretty high, and then adding a bit of gravity with the up parameter. The align parameter is gonna actually align the leaves like pointing toward the end of the branch. It's not very easy to read for now because we don't have any texture on them. So we are gonna add some. So to do that, we need to make a material for leaves. So let's go here and add a new material. So here I've downloaded an atlas from Megascan. You can also find some atlases on texture.com. So you can find some free one here, but it's going to be small resolution. But I guess you can find some not too heavy, not too expensive ones on the internet pretty easily. So yeah, so here I've just used the oak leaf from the Megascan website. So here I just picked the albedo to create a new shader. Or I don't know if it just maybe when I changed the window it didn't actually change my shader. Okay, now so I have the albedo. Let's choose the opacity the same way. So here I'm gonna pick the opacity. Same for the normal. So the nomenclature is not exactly the same as the sample of speed tree, so it's not filling automatically all the parameters like that. So I have to choose them one by one. For the glossiness, I can choose the roughness map, but the glossiness is the invert of roughness, so I can just choose the roughness map and just click on invert to make it a glossiness map. And yeah, I can also choose maybe the subsurface color, so it's the translucency. and I can increase a little bit the translucency factor here, like 50% maybe. Oh, I believe it's percentage. Yeah, it's written percentage. It should be okay. Okay, so with that I should be good to go. Now I have to apply the material on my leaf. So I click on my leaf generator, go to the material tab, and go and choose this shader. But I could actually rename because it's not very self-explanatory. So I'm just gonna choose this one and rename it oak leaf shader. Okay, and let's go on this one, and yeah, let's apply it on our leaves. So now you see that I have all my Atlas per leaf, so it's not exactly what I want to do. To actually choose one part of the Atlas, I need to go here in my shader and go to the cutout mesh tab, and I will edit the cutouts. So in this interface, I can just choose the origin of my leaves here and draw the outline of the mesh I want for my leaves. So depending on what you want to do, if you want to make a high poly tree, you might want to draw something pretty accurate here. Here it's just for preview. We are gonna put some instance mesh in Houdini later. So here you can put more detail if you want to skip the Houdini part and have a more detailed leaf. But be careful because it can bump your poly count pretty fast. So here you see I'm adding some, I can also remove some points that way. I'm keeping one line in the center, so I can use the fold parameters later and have some geometry to actually fold the panel. So I'm always keeping this first line here. Okay. So once you're happy with your first cutout, you can just store it in the high polygon. So you could actually make many of them because you could make some level of detail, like if you're making a tree for a game, for example. But here we are just generating one tree, so I'm just using the high tab, and I'm always staying here in the high resolution mode. But if you want to set up many LODs, you could store one leaf per LOD and just look at them differently here. But it's more like a video game pipeline. Even though I made my leaf pretty light actually. So now we have one leaf like that. It became transparent. Maybe it's about the double-sided parameters on the shader. Let's go back on our shader, and okay, it's refreshed. But anyway, if you look the leaves from below, you see that you can't see them. So you actually have to pick the double-sided option on the shader. So if you go on the settings of your shader, there's a two-sided option here, and now you can see our leaf from below as well. So here they're all the same. So if you want, because we have an Atlas, you can add many cutouts like that. So let's maybe create a new one just for the example, and you can just create as much as you want. So let's make another one, maybe like this one, and let's repeat the process of adding this. So let's make it up quickly. I won't spend too much time on this one. Okay, let's say it's enough. Add one more here, for example. Okay, so let's store it again as the high poly one. And now we should have two leaves here. So I don't know why it's kind of hiding. I guess there is kind of refreshing problem. Now we have two different kind of leaves instance on our leaves, on our leaf generator. So they are a bit small for now, so we might go back and edit them a bit. So let's go in the batch leaf generator mode, and in the skin make them a bit bigger, 0.1. We can also introduce some randomness on them. So let's make a like 0.05. Maybe it's a bit too much as a variation. So there, maybe 0.03 to have some variation in their size. Also, we can maybe go here in the orientation tab again, and so here you're gonna see a bit better what I was saying before about the align parameter. So it's just like making them point toward the end of their branch. So it's nice to have a bit of align, I guess, on the leaves. You can always add some variations so that don't act all the same. So for example, here we can put some variation on the sky influence a little bit, so they don't all point the same way. I can also, on the up attribute, add a bit of variation. So globally, they're gonna face upward, but they all have their randomness a little bit. Maybe I'm still a bit small for the leaves. Because it's a bonsai, I want to have bigger leaves than a normal tree would have. Because there's this kind of miniature look to them. So let's go back to skin and maybe make them 1.5. And really, we have to see it with the full tree display, I guess, to get a sense of what's the look of the leaf when they're all together. Okay, so now we start to have some leaf on our tree. It's a bit hard to see with the lighting because, of course, the lighting is real-time lighting, so you will have to see it past trace to get a good sense of how it's going to look in our scene. There is one more thing we can do on the leaf to make them more look more natural. And as I said, we're going to set our leaves in Houdini, but if you want to, sorry, let's frame one of these leaves up. If you want to export your tree directly from SpeedTree and render it as it is, you might want to make a bit more work on your leaf. So here in Batch Leaf generator, if you go on a skin, you also have here some fold and curl parameters. So let's curl a bit the leaves downwards. Maybe let's fold them a little bit, and it's why I put a line of polygon at the center. It's to be able to fold them a little bit on themselves, like that. And again, you could put some randomness on that, so if you don't want them all to fold the same way, it can look more natural like that. Again, same for the curling, and it's gonna start a bit to look a bit more natural. Maybe we can put a little bit of twist as well. Okay, let's put the twist just as a variation. Okay, so now it looks a bit more natural. So let's Control F and display our tree again. So you see here we have like 4 million polygons just for the leaves. But as they are instance here, they are pretty light. It would be much more heavy if you would have used the normal leaf generator. And as I know that I'm gonna instant them later, the batch leaf is really good for me because it's it displays pretty well the performance I will have later. So okay, it's basically it for the leaves. You can, if you want, add some more variations. You could go back here and add some more cutouts. You could also have 2 shaders if you'd like. I believe you can add some more shader here and choose the percentage of each shader you want. So if you want to make like a dead leaf shader and choose the probability of having some dead leaves, you could drive it from here. It's really in the case you want to export your tree directly from SpeedTree and render it as it is. But you see, we're going to set up a quite more complex way of choosing the leaves in Houdini to make this kind of autumn look on our tree. Okay, so it's getting pretty good. We'll probably make one pass of adjustment later when we have the roots and ivy on the trunk to see if, like, for example, maybe if the branch are a bit too low polygon. You see here it's maybe a bit low poly. So if we would like to make that kind of shot, it wouldn't work, and we would have to add more polygons in these branches. But it's always about the distance you're gonna look your tree from, and always keeping a look at your poly count here and make it something manageable. Like the heavier your tree, the longer the export, and the slower your viewport is gonna be. So iteration is key. So keeping things light let you make more iteration, and at the end you have a better result if you are comfortable to make many iterations. If it starts to get too heavy, then you don't make the good choices, and maybe it's more high poly, but it's less nice looking because you didn't have that much iteration to make your tree look nice. It's why we always like kind of isolate one branch when we want to set up our parameters, then display the overall. But this is a general rules when you work in 3D, I guess. So that's it for now. In the next video, we are going to start to place the roots of our tree.